You'll never guess the player that Manchester United made a £100 million bid for. What is the latest on Obi-Martin, Aubrey and Lassalle have been confirmed? What is going on with Obi-Martin? Some updates on Ahmad Mainoo being given new deals, but particularly important for Amad Diallo, who in January can agree to join another club because his contract is set to run out. Branthwaite, Manchester United back in and ready to do business for Branthwaite. A new left back, INEOS have big concerns about Luke Shaw. INEOS are having to distance themselves from Nice because of some regulations put in place. What has Ten Hag said post-match? What has the Muppeteers given us an update on in terms of Rigg, and a couple other Wonder Kid signings and more? So hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to your 10-minute morning roundup video. Please do go ahead and hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. And I'm going to be honest, my throat is kind of gone, so if I mispronounce and if it's not coming out right, I do apologize. My throat is a little bit gone, but I'm going to try and power through this news as well as I can. So it was said by the Muppeteers that the United hierarchy still see problems they want Ten Hag to fix. We're going to start first about this, and then we'll talk about Chris Rigg. Now, I like Ten Hag, and I like to think that he can succeed, and I think that if he can do what he wants to do, and I can see what he wants to do, but it's very difficult to do that. I think it could work and could be amazing, but I still think we're a long way off from playing how he wants to play and a few profiles off, and he's going to have to show us more between now and the end of the season to get that extra year and those extra players to potentially make his system work. I think the 1-1 draw versus FC20 wasn't good enough. I think Ten Hag substitutions were poor again, but I also think the effort levels from the players lacked. But hopefully, you know what? We look better than last season. We're still not good enough, but we look better than last season. That's the number one positive, I guess, and hopefully we can kick on and get a string of good results. Now, let's go back into some transfer news and some updates. It was said that United are scouting Chris Rigg, and they don't think it's likely they'll be able to sign Franco Mastroianni. Probably said his name wrong, but Franco is like this Argentinian attacking midfielder that can play on the wings. That is like one of the highest rated talents in South America that Real Madrid have looked at signing. United have also scouted this guy. He's very highly rated. I'm surprised Chelsea aren't trying to sign him, even though they've got 10 players at the exact same profile. But he's an incredibly talented player that United are looking at. Now, talking of an incredibly talented player, Chris Rigg is also an incredibly talented 17-year-old that is playing regular football in the Championship. Chris Rigg is a player that United are looking at. He's very INEOS signing. He's seen as the next Jude Bellingham, the next big sort of talent coming through in the Championship that basically United don't want to miss out on. So I expect more on Chris Rigg closer to the transfer window. But talking of transfer window, we know that Manchester United in the past have been pretty shambolic in the transfer window. And apparently, according to The Athletic, who's a good source of information, that Man United made a $100 million offer to sign Ansu Fati in the summer of 2020 when the Sancho deal failed. But Barcelona rejected that. Now, Barcelona are thinking, I wish we accepted that now, because Ansu Fati was a bit like Lamine Yamal. You know, they were like, you know, he was at that level, I think, at the time. So I can understand to an extent why we made the $100 million bid, because he was seen as the next Messi, you know, what Lamine Yamal is seen as now. But then he got that injury and then he was okay at Brighton. And he's ultimately just not lived up to the level, maybe because of the injury. Maybe he was a little bit overhyped, all of that as well. Now, I mean, putting 100 million on Ansu Fati is ridiculous. I think at the time maybe you could understand it because of the hype, but I still think 100 million would have been way too much for a player that young. It just explains how crazy Woodward was and how badly the club was operated, and you know, when Woodward was making decisions, 100 million on Ansu Fati. Because when you look at that now, you're thinking 100 million on a guy that wasn't good enough for Brighton. Like, he was okay at Brighton, but he wasn't totally convincing. Like, he's not up to the level. So imagine if we spent 100 million on Ansu Fati and he's just injured and not hitting the levels. He's someone that we'd be looking to maybe sell, and for 20 million or something, we spent 100 million on it. It's quite mad. So I'm glad that we walked away and got Ahmad. Ahmad cost 18 million. If Ahmad scores a certain amount of goals and plays a certain amount of games, he could go up to 38 million. But I think 35 million, but I think 35 million, looking at what's in from Ahmad right now, if he stays on track, isn't a bad deal. But luckily, we've got Ahmad for 18 million there as well. Talking of Ahmad, it was said that Manchester United are preparing to hold new contract talks with Mainoo and Amad Diallo. Now, we've known about Mainoo and a new deal on the horizon for a while, but the big news here is Amad Diallo, because Amad Diallo could leave for free in January if we do not tie him down to a new deal. And there was talk that United were going to have big plans for Amad. They were going to give him a new deal. They were going to play him, but because he didn't play much last season, he obviously was a bit like, should I leave United? I think Ahmad was himself. Anthony and Forson were playing over him last season. Now he's seen that this season he is playing, and he is playing regularly. thank you, Ten Hag. I think there's more of a possibility of tying him down to a new deal, and hopefully we can get Ahmad on a new deal by January, because I think he's going to be such a key player for our future. And if we lost Amad Diallo on a free, I'd be broken, I think, because we'd finally start playing him too little too late. So I think it's big news if we can get Amad Diallo on a new deal. It was also said that United believe that Dan Gore's recent layoff injury will stand him in good stead throughout his career. If you don't know who Dan Gore is, we had 3 stars in 2022 Youth Cup win. Mainoo, Gore, Garnacho. They were the 3 best players on the pitch for me. They were the 3 stars. Mainoo and Garnacho have kicked on. They pushed their way into the first team. Dan Gore was given his debut in a Carabao Cup game a year ago, went out on loan to Port Vale, got injured, has not played proper minutes in about 9 months. But I think he was the 3rd best player in the academy after Mainoo and Garnacho. That year we won the Youth Cup. So you can see how highly rated he is, and hopefully he gets back on track. I know not every Man United academy player will make it, but I think Dan Gore could have a very good career and is a very good player, even if he doesn't make it into Manchester United. Continuing on into academy players, Obi-Martin. United were not expecting any problems with the approval of the Sawa Novery, and the same can be applied to the incoming Obi-Martin. So United are not expecting any problems, it's just taking longer. They're still waiting, but an agreement was struck in July and he could be confirmed sooner rather than later. United is still waiting approval. But United are quite confident there'll be a confirmation of Obi-Martin soon, and there shouldn't be any issues. So in terms of Obi-Martin to United, the confirmation isn't coming. They expect the deal will be done soon. Bish bash bosh, really. Nothing to worry about, which is good. Now let's talk about other transfer business, other transfer news, and we're going to talk about Branthwaite. Graham Bailey said this: Dan Ashworth is determined to get Branthwaite in 2025. United had bids turned down this summer, but they will return. I believe he bid 40, 45 million and 50 million. It was said Harry Maguire and Lindelof exits will make room. Lindelof's going to go on a free. I think United are going to extend Maguire's deal, but hope to sell him. But I think he'll probably stay and run down his wages. Everton would like to tie Branthwaite to a new deal. Everton are trying to get Branthwaite on a new deal, but considering Everton's start to the season, Branthwaite might be a bit wary, saying, well, I know they're going to get relegated, and they might, hold me hostage like they did last summer. Branthwaite agreed to join United. Branthwaite wanted to come to Manchester United, but Everton were like, no, we want 70 million. And I think Branthwaite will either sign a new deal at Everton because they're giving him really good money and basically 10 times his wages, or we might say, well, if this team's going to get relegated, I don't want to sign a new deal, so I can actually go for a decent price in the summer. So it'll be interesting to see what Branthwaite does, because I think if he doesn't sign a new deal and Everton get relegated, I think we could get him for 40 million, a really good price. And I think to replace Maguire and Lindelof, Branthwaite's what we want. Branthwaite and Martinez on the left, Euro and De Ligt on the right. We've got 4 really good centre-backs. If you look at Manchester City, Stones, Akanji, Ake, Diaz, Guardiola, they've got 5 really good centre-backs, but Guardiola and obviously Ake can play out wide. And Branthwaite and Martinez, I guess you could say, could technically play out wide. And I think that's what you need. You need top players. Arsenal have obviously Gabriel and Saliba, but they have Calafiori and Ben White that can play centre-back if need be. All the top teams have a lot of centre-backs. So let's continue on into left-back, because that is an area of concern. The Muppeteer said there's a serious concern over Luke Shaw's health and fitness. It could be 3 and 4 weeks before he's back, and Robertson, Aït-Nouri and Kirk as the names to keep an eye on. Left-back being discussed as a serious option in January, which does not surprise me. I do apologise that I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit. But look, I think if we're going to sign someone in January, it's going to be a left-back because Shaw can't stay fit, or someone like Naipan, and I said that when I was on Rich's show the other day. I think Anthony Robinson would be my first choice because the way he can move up each flank, I think he's better than Aït-Nouri and Kirkez. I know he's 28, I know he's a little bit older, but I think with Harry Amas coming through, for me, I don't want to bring in a 21-year-old left-back wonder kid who's all right. I want to bring in someone that is ready, that can make an impact right away in the Premier League, get down either flanks, has the athleticism we lack, and I think Robinson brings that, so he'd be my first choice at left-back. Continuing on into some other stories, it was said that INEOS-owned OG Nice have been barred from making contact with United owners to comply with UEFA rules regarding multi-club ownership. INEOS have been asked to temporarily distance themselves from the league-owned side for both teams to compete in the Europa League. So, again, don't really care, but some rules going on. Maybe INEOS have to distance themselves from Nice just for now. But it feels like the rules apply to Man United more than any other multi-club ownership model. And then Ten Hag, some of his comments post-match, he said, when you have the ambition, you have to perform. Today in the second half especially, we were too complacent. He said we cannot allow situations like the equaliser with the player who dribbles for several metres without being stopped. It was the match of FC20's lives. They fought every inch and we didn't. 99% is not enough. We have to kill the match. And Ten Hag's post-match analysis is spot on. FC20 wanted it more than us at the end of the day. And I'm going to be live 5:30 this evening to talk about this in more detail. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've got the post notification bell on. See you at 5:30. Thank you for watching. Bye.